Dear concussion victims, today I played Hitman Trademark 2, it came out in 2018 and it was mostly the same as the first one. First thing to note, if you have the Hitman 1, you can play it in the second game with all the new features and improved interface. Also, your completed challenges and earned items are not going to transfer. You start second Hitman as if you never played the first one, even though all information been constantly saving online. As I heard, you can transfer it between Hitman 2 and 3, and the third one has all the maps, so unless you are like me researching each game individually, you have no reason to go through the first two. You should just start with the last one. I don't know what's up with IO Interactive, but every time there is a new game, they tell a story in a completely different way. The doctors. Tell me more about the doctors.
Well, it's official.
Still images with voiceover, hell yeah. Suffice to say, it was a jarring sight to behold, from cinematic face-captured performance to Stick's Master of Shadows. Now, when it's just storyboarding with fancy pictures, overarching narrative lost me completely. A lot of the scenes are chuckle-worthy, characters' motivation is weak, 47 suddenly on the revenge crusade to fulfill a childhood pact with his newfound clone bro, and Diana is just there, helping, I guess. It could have worked if the story been fleshed out, if we saw exactly why it's so important for them to topple Providence all of a sudden. It's implied that the boys have been through a life of torture. Show me! I want to see it. I can't even start to relate to any of that. And those experiments happened a lifetime ago. Aren't people responsible for it should be dead or as old as the Providence CEO? It's really hard to take it seriously, and why should I? If the creators haven't cared enough releasing it in the form of PowerPoint presentation, obviously it wasn't that important for them. So I see no reason to pay much attention to it. But you can't say that, because their publisher Square Enix pulled the funding in the middle of production and IO had to cut 40% of their staff.
IO Interactive was close to 200 employees before 40% of the workforce was let go, a time they rather amusingly refer to as Squexit.
So every criticism could be reposted by that. Bonus missions are shallow compared to the first Hitman, it's fine. Releasing 2 major missions as DLCs, that's not a bad practice. They had to do it to save the company. Well, maybe some of it might be true, it's hard to know for sure. The fact is, Hitman 2's story is tainted and it's disappointing. Just thinking about the legacy it leaves, that all the new players over the years going to be let down in the same way in the middle of the trilogy. Hell, even Absolution when its dumpster fire story had a good looking CGI cutscenes. But now, when they actually have a decent tale to tell, it cuts to slideshow in the middle. Oh well, we'll see how their new union with Warner Bros. Works out. I hope at least they will do justice to the climax. On the bright side, gameplay has improved. We have some quality of life updates, like better indicators for suspicion, better mob charts, new features like hiding in high grass, blending in crowds, or a new video feed for some events similar to good old Blood Money. The biggest one is the return of the forbidden relic called Briefcase. But this time it's not just some briefcase, a magical one with extra dimension. You can place a weapon in it, you can use it as a weapon, you can use it as a bait, you can talk to it when you get lonely, but most importantly, Briefcase helps 47 to overcome his recently developed fear of throwing a gun. Aw, just look at him, he's one step closer to relearning how to do it. Voice acting was a big improvement, now NPCs have accents respective to the countries you go to. They sound natural and help to create a more immersive atmosphere. It works well with international events, aristocratic or educated characters, but still sounds off when native population decides to gossip between each other in English. It's no longer that big of a deal, and I'm fine ignoring it for the sake of convenience. Another big improvement for me, this time slightly more subtle, is the design of opportunities, or how they are called now, mission stories. There are still waypoints by default, but now if you play without them, you won't get crippled by it. I intentionally played through every mission story with the setting on minimal, and I haven't found a single example of bad design in that regard. It was close a couple of times, but there were always just enough breadcrumbs to follow, or it was a result of my own mistakes. So this time I can say with certainty they haven't relied on waypoints, but rather on intel, environment, and NPC conversation. And I would recommend playing the first time with minimal guidance on. There was an opposite effect one time. I felt too handheld, and it happened in Mumbai. They've introduced a cool new concept, a target identity of which you need to uncover on the mission, having only a name to start with. First, they point you to 3 possible places to begin your search, even though I still have guidance on minimal. Okay, didn't need that, but fine. Then, once you found a photograph, they mark a dozen of people that could be him. Why? What are you doing? At least mark an area on the map where he might be if you're so concerned players will be lost. Give more clues like he's on the street somewhere, or he wears this kind of clothing, or he likes this kind of tea. Don't just blatantly put markers on everybody. Not to mention there are 2 mission stories that could uncover his identity already. But then, if you look at marked people for a second, the game will graciously tell you if it's him or not. No. You can't use your eyes, or think with your own brain, or have your own choice, or make mistakes. Mistakes are not fun. Here, we will guide you through this puzzle we ourselves created. Oh hey, you found him for me, great, thanks, I feel nothing. To take such good idea and to squander it so fantastically. If I knew how it worked beforehand, I would have turned everything off for Mumbai mission. But besides this one annoying occasion, playing on minimal was an ideal experience. Maps and level design were again amazingly executed. First comes Miami with its loud and sunny atmosphere. I can't recall any shooter game using ongoing motor race as its setting. It felt new and refreshing to explore such events. My favorite hit from this map wasn't even a part of mission story. You find a guy interrogated by cops who's been trying to blow up one of the racers on Robert Knox's orders. You steal the bomb from evidence safe, plant it on Sierra Knox's car, and give the detonator to Robert, watching him executing his own daughter. Then you just enjoy his horrified reaction and lick tears of unfathomable sadness of his face. I love it. Colombia was much more relaxed. Here I took my time exploring the muddy streets and dirt-poor village, as well as contrasting it with the drug cartel's luxurious mansion. I'm very happy for the dude from Sapienza finding a well-paid job, and there people thought he won't get anywhere in life. I didn't like jungle part very much. It's been too tunneled and reminded me of Witcher 2 forest. Other than that, it was a great map once again and had its own share of fun moments. Mumbai had the same themes of poverty. It had a fun satirical angle on bad Bollywood movies, also poking fun at toxic movie directors and producers in general. The highlight of this map was the Kashmirian mission story. It's the best one so far in the whole Hitman franchise, and I only found it while exploring this map after I completed the game. 2 targets put a hit on each other, and you can find another hitman struggling to snipe one of them. So you, without his knowledge, kindly helping your fellow hitman out. It's both humorous and believable. You can see exactly how these characters got to where they ended up. I haven't liked Mumbai that much first time playing, but after exploring it, I found much more appreciation, and now it's my second best map after Sapienza. The next level, Whittleton Creek, had an opposite effect on me. It charmed me at first with its peaceful, cozy neighborhood stuck somewhere in the 80s, but upon exploring, it was less than I initially imagined. A lot of the buildings I thought accessible were not. Postman and politician disguises didn't really lead to anything. Guy with the lawsuit papers didn't do anything interesting either. It's still very enjoyable, just not one of my favorites upon closer inspection. The Ark Society, or how conspirologists imagine wealthy elites spend their time, burning money in cult rituals and secretly preparing for the end of the world. The atmosphere felt much more tense here, especially thanks to the soundtrack. Music in general has been improved, but here it stood out the most. I don't know why, but here they broke disguise believability into mission stories back to back. It's something that bothered me throughout the new-gen Hitman, but there were always excuses you could find. 47 calls Francesca as Roberto her lover. Well, maybe there's a bad audio quality and that's why she didn't see through the voice. In Paris, 47 talks with Margolis as Kruger. Maybe she didn't know this model well enough. Seems believable. When here, 47 disguises as ex-boyfriend of Sofia, talks to her face to face, and she has no suspicion whatsoever. The first time he opened his mouth, she should have been like, "Who the fuck are you?" And then, the second time, when you are pretending to be one of the 5 council members who's been very vocal against one of the proposals, suddenly nobody notices the complete and obvious change in his voice, and they all act as if it's normal. The bank brought a heist kind of feeling. Mission was smaller than usual, it doesn't quite reach the high standard IO themselves set up, and problem is not even in the map size, it just needed more variety in approach. Here I found the best 47's dialogue. He often speaks in allegories, and sometimes they overdo it and push it a little bit too far.
Prepare intensely. Study the problem. Learn everything I can. Analyze all approaches.
You're talking about laundry. But in a job interview with the Rorschach test, it fitted perfectly and listening to it was such a treat.
Tell me, what is the first thing you see here? Just the very first thing that comes to mind.
I see a figure in a large coat. Perspective skewed, as if I'm looking at him from the ground. He's got something in his hands.
Go on.
He's armed. Dual firearms. Large caliber pistols.
I see. What else do you see?
He's just finished a job. Perfectly executed.
And who is this man?
It's me.
Maldives, the closest thing our bold block of stone has to a vacation. The change of weather was unexpected surprise. First you are baking on the sun, soaking this relaxing atmosphere, and then after the second kill, tone suddenly changes to a feel of an impending doom. Overall, it was a standard, enjoyable Hitman formula. Oh yeah, the cutscenes are back for these last 2 expansion missions. They are not as cinematic as they were in the first Hitman, but still way better than still images. And that would be all. There is a variety of slight improvements and a big hiccup with the narrative, which for me balances them out. And even though I could sound very critical sometimes, I did enjoy this game a lot, and I would totally recommend to check it out. It took me 21 hours to complete. Combined with exploration, it's 69 hours. Nice. And I'm giving Hitman 2 88 out of 100. Okay. So if their hand touches water for like one moment, they are instantly dead. That's what we learned here.